The bell ringer. What is it? Why is it so powerful? Why do people chase it? Let's go. Remember, this video is for education purposes. Soberdogs is not promoting any drug use, nor do we ever. This video is for entertainment, educational, and informative purposes. Please seek medical help if you have an addiction. The bell ringer is often associated with cocaine specifically. Now, you know, there's a couple ways to do cocaine. There's most common, people snort it. People can IV inject powder cocaine, or people cook it up and smoke crack. It turns it into that rock. And then there's also freebase, which is when people take powder cocaine, mix it with some stuff, ammonia, all this, whatever, and they're trying to pull out the base of the cocaine while separating the additives, basically making it as pure as they can get. Once they do that, they either smoke it a lot more, most often, or they snort it, whatever. But those are the forms people do cocaine in. When talking about a bell ringer, it's typically most often referred to with people who smoke crack cocaine. It can be very often IV, you know, you get it with IV, and people with freebase, especially because freebase tends to be more pure. Snorting it, not really. Minor effects, but just the simple fact of how long it takes to kick in when a substance is snorted versus smoked or injected is what really makes the difference here. When smoked or injected, you're talking, you know, full peak effects in 10 seconds max, you know, maybe 15. When snorted, full peak effects, 2 to 5 minutes, you know, sometimes a little bit longer. Because it's that much quicker and more powerful is why it's associated with those routes of administration. So what exactly is a bell ringer? A bell ringer is when a person takes an extremely large, doesn't necessarily have to be large, but it more often than not is large, or if it's very pure stuff, whatever, a big hit of crack cocaine or powder, injecting it. And the hit is so powerful, what it does is, as it creates the euphoric high, at the same time, one of the main effects of intense cocaine use is auditory hallucinations and auditory distortions. It literally creates a ringing in the ears, very intense, to where outside sounds are either blocked out, or if they come in, you're hearing them, they're distorted. Like the radio used to sound like that to me when I would do it. I would turn the radio up and do my shot, and all of a sudden it'd be, you know, a normal song on, I like that old time of rock and roll, I like that old. It's just weird. Why that song came to my mind, I don't know, but that was the song I used. It creates a literal ringing in the ears effect, which is why people call it the bell ringer. The euphoria, the ringing in the ears, the auditory hallucinations, and even minor visual hallucinations all combine to create that effect. Why does that happen? Well, when cocaine's used, it releases a lot of dopamine, you know, our brain's reward system. So if we're having like anything normal, rewarding, or pleasurable and releases some dopamine, what happens is some of it's released if we, you know, have sex, whatever. And then it is, you know, reabsorbed into the transmitters. When we do something like cocaine, a ton is released. You know, it can be up to 10 times the amount as like sex, and meth is even worse. I guess it's 12, 15 times. But it's not reabsorbed naturally like it should be, because it is such an insane amount. Our brain's basically like confused, like, whoa, we don't gotta make it and reabsorb it because so much is coming in right now, we don't know why. And this is what can create long-term damage, and why a lot of crack cocaine and cocaine users in general have long-term damage to the reward system of their brain, why they find it hard to be happy, why it might take them months after they get clean to be happy and enjoy, you know, normal things in life. Also meth users big time, but we're focusing on cocaine. How long does the bell ringer last? Depends on, you know, the person, the purity, the amount, all that, but I'd say roughly anywhere from 15 to 60 seconds, give or take. You know, not long. How it's been described by some other people is, an extreme euphoria so intense that the world stops and you have a ringing in your ears so powerful that everything just pauses. That was how one person described it. I described it in an article I wrote as, imagine there's a bunch of fighter jets off in the distance and you could slowly hear them. That's when you take the hit, and over the next 15 seconds, they're getting closer and closer, and then about 15 to 20 seconds in, they're right over your head, and it is just this blaring, loud, ringing in the ears, distortion sound, and then they slowly go by and the sound fades and the high fades. Along with the sound would be the euphoric effects, but it's like a buildup, like a roller coaster buildup. Like you take the hit and it's like, whoop, and then you're up there for a minute and then it comes down shortly. Some examples of the term bell ringer being used, in a sentence would be, dude, that hit was massive. Talk about getting a bell ringer. Or this is something a lot of users will do when they get to the end of their stash or the end of their night. I'm putting all of it in this last hit to try to get a huge bell ringer. That's a common thing users will do. Say they put $8 worth in their normal hit, but their last one they try to double it up to get a massive hit. I've gotten a ton of these bell ringers before. They say, that people they'll get a bell ringer and they're early on in their addiction and spend the rest of their lives chasing it. Very accurate, but what I would say is the only difference is it doesn't necessarily have to be in the beginning. Like, yes, that first big hit that somebody takes, whether it's their first time or their fifth time, the first time they get like a good, pure, powerful hit, they're going to get that bell ringer and they're going to really be hooked. Because I know a lot of people, myself included, the first time I did try crack, no high at all. Second time I threw up everywhere. Third time I got high as a kite, hooked. And that's not uncommon. People have experiences like that. So some people, maybe they're doing crappy stuff for their first month of addiction, and then their fifth week in, they get pure stuff, and that's when they get the bell ringer. And also, a year into it, you could still get a bell ringer. People do. It just, what happens is it takes more to get it. It's got to be more pure, and it's harder to get because every time we do it, we take a hit of that stuff, we're damaging our brain, our reward system, that's making it harder and harder to achieve the same effect we got prior. It really is damaging. And what's dangerous is when we get that bell ringer, we go from, normal to 1,000 of reward and happiness and high. And then when it goes away, like we were talking about the dopamine, you don't go back down to normal. You go way down. That is that period, probably 8 to 10 minutes after a person takes a high, starts to kick in, takes a hit, where they talk about like desperation of a crack user, of like people doing crazy stuff. That's that period. It is like your brain is screaming at you that nothing in the world matters except getting another one of those hits. It is insane how powerful the pull is for that. That period of time is probably, I don't know this exact number, I'm saying this off the top of my head, probably 80% of the crimes that are done for cocaine are done. Is the person takes their last hit, 10 to 15 minutes go by, the come down crash starts. I'd say probably 15 minutes to probably, for some people it might last a half hour, some people 2 to 3 hours. But that period is just this depressive pit where nothing can take you out of there except another hit. Occasionally, if you fall asleep, you wake up a little bit better. Not great, but it sucks and it's dangerous. That's a bell ringer. That's everything you got to know on a bell ringer. If you want to know more about cocaine, crack cocaine, all of that stuff, the differences, check out the other videos. All right, K-Rug, the Soberdog, I'm out. See ya.